Team One's the best at is taking a relatively complex part and working very closely with the customers, design engineers, product engineers, and developing a good, stable tool that's going to deliver a good product for them over the life, over the life of the product.
Well, one of the areas that we really have focused on is the type of parts that we make. Again, first off, we're an automotive supplier, so we're really focused on certain types of parts. We talk about precision components, and particular precision components are a lot of cases and switch componentry. A big area for us is automotive heater control systems, HVAC systems. Many of them now are the automatic controls where you set the temperature. Most of the parts that we make you don't see. It's all the switch componentry that actually actuates those systems that make it work. So lots of interior switches, so cases and precision is required there, and that's where our tonnage range fits. As we talk about, we can go up to 400 tons, we go to 25 to 300 tons currently, and that fits very well with that kind of product.
We've got 20 presses on one side of the plant. There's only really 2 people out there monitoring them. Because the robots are taking care of most of the part handling, some of the inspection, and so we've really moved more towards a model where our real value proposition to our customers is that you give us a print and we help you get it to the point where it's a very moldable part. We take responsibility for the tooling through its life. Things that, with a transfer tooling are really just not possible for us to do. It's not that we don't take transfer tooling anymore, but we have to be very, very careful about how it was constructed, what kinds of problems it has, and so we're just, we have a much more stringent process by which we would filter those.
We've got the correct personnel in place to make sure our scheduling system's okay, our delivery system's okay, our training system's okay. So that's basically, in a nutshell, my role for supporting Team One, who supports the customer. Without the people, we cannot support our customer or get parts to our customer. So.
Team One, all of our team is trained on our systems. We have paperless systems. So if a customer calls and it's off day hours, if you will, or off shift for me or some of the other office team, then they're able to access through some of our programs the customer part numbers. They're able to see what we have in inventory. They're also able to access our production schedule to be able to determine if something that the customer might need is running. So the paperless system allows really the whole entire team to be able to see and access information that might be important to a customer.
Well, I think it's critical in the fact that, obviously our customer's objective is to get the best quality part. And I think that, with having some technical ability to be able to review part design and also tool design, it would allow them to have the best quality part in the long run.
Once you get into automation, you find that you now need to control the tooling more. So where we used to take any transfer tool, we're finding that we now have to control that. And an area that we've grown in is development of our own tooling to integrate with our process better. And we take great pride in a source of value we think is that whole process of getting a PO, developing the tooling, working with our customers, coordinate the launch of that product so that's very smooth and seamless to our customers.
Well, we've been in this building since 1992. We started the company in 1987. We're what would be considered sort of the textbook case of how a business incubator building is supposed to work. We started in the business incubator building on the other side of this industrial park and moved over here, built this building again in 1992 at 15,000 square feet. We expanded it in 1995 to 25,000 square feet. And then we bought the building next door in about 2002. That's about another 20,000 feet for a grand total of about 45,000 square feet. So over here we have our main manufacturing staff, quality people, maintenance, logistics, scheduling, and every day they do a stand-up meeting in front of that board where we talk about what are the most important issues to try to get done today. It's sort of a very quick triage of what problems may have come up over the last 24 hours since they met. So it just gives us a very visual way of making sure that we're all pushing in the same direction. This is our main manufacturing area. Right now we have 21 presses on this side, ranging from 25 metric tons up to 180 metric tons. And that historically was our range. And then within the last few years we expanded to a little bit larger presses that go from 200 metric tons up to we expect to go as high as 400. And so that's on the other side of the plant. So this area of the plant, because of all of the automation that we brought in place, this floor right here is run by 2 people. So if we were to rewind, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago, there probably would have been 8-10 people running this side of the factory. So, but if you look, almost every single one of the presses has a full servo robot on top of it, and that's what's allowed us to be as highly automated as we are now. Each of our machines has a thin client computer on them. This is sort of like our ERP system. We've developed the software in-house. What it allows us to do is to monitor, what we basically do is monitor the screw turning, and when it starts turning and when it stops turning, and then we measure the time between those turns, and that allows us to calculate a charge time, a cycle time. So we use it for calculating yields, figuring out how far into a run we are, how much material we've used, so it all happens automatically. We're able to do, we deliver all of our documentation here electronically. So for example, all of our manufacturing standards are delivered here. That's how we set up, how we run the part. We're able to point out what types of quality defects they should look for. This way, our document control is very easy because anybody who needs to use something knows that the latest version of what they should be using is right here. It will be delivered automatically. We also deliver real-time order and shipping information. Because we're a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour operation, we want to try to put the best information we can in the hands of the people who are making decisions. So for example, if we're having a problem with a tool, 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, rather than struggle with it, the shift supervisor can take a look and he'll be able to tell if we've already made the order, how far into next week we have the orders, and he might make the decision just to shut it down and go on to the next tool. So we utilize the robots for a lot of different things. They extract out of the machine. In this case, they're separating 2 different part numbers. So that normally this would have had to have been done by a person with all of the possibilities for mixing them up. So what happens is as the parts go down, the machine is counting, and then there's a laser shooting across here. So as soon as the right number of pieces are in the box, the laser will activate, and if the person doesn't get here and move the bag away in time, it'll set off an alarm so that that way they know that there's the right number of pieces in the box. In some cases we use multiple robots. So in this particular case, we're extracting the parts out, and then we have to separate them into a right and a left. And that robot wouldn't be able to do it as dense as these trays are, so we have to use a secondary robot. So this one will lay it in the nest, and then this robot will come over and grab the parts and put them into the proper trays. And then when this tray is completely full, 2 empty ones will come into that spot. So a person really just has to come by here every so often when the trays fill up. Otherwise, they'd have to sit here and hand pack these into these cell pack trays. So in some cases, we're able to use 2 different types of robots to eliminate what was actually a very somewhat dangerous, not dangerous, but fatiguing job. So in this case we have this lens with a very, very thick gate that used to have to be cut by a person. But now what happens is the one robot will hand it off to the other robot and it'll do the gate cut. And this cutting robot can be used for a lot of different jobs. It doesn't have fixed tooling, so we can just reprogram it for 8-10 different jobs, and we change out the tools for the other robot, and it can run all these different types of jobs and get the cut made. This is one of our smaller machines. So in this case, this does the counting. So what will happen is as the right number of parts fall into here, these flaps will flip over here. It'll fill that box halfway, and then it'll set off an alarm so a person knows to come and put a fresh box in place.
As far as the team, it's our philosophy from day one. You'll never hear anyone here say, hey, that's not my job. Anything that needs to be done, if the person knows how to do it, they are more than welcome or more than able and willing to do that job. So.
We also live it, I think, by being open 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if our customer's working overtime on a weekend and maybe they run into a problem or have a question, maybe they need some additional parts, there's someone here at the facility that can take a phone call. It doesn't have to be me, 8 to 5. There's people here 24 hours a day that can take a call from a customer and hopefully get what they need on the road as quickly as possible.
Well, I would say we're really good at a couple things. One is that we're really focused on a certain market. We're an automotive supplier in a certain tonnage range. Right now we range from 25 tons to, we can go up to 400 tons. Right now we have about up to 300 tons. And because of that, that limits the market that we have. But I think it limits us in an area that allows us to be globally competitive on price and also be very focused on what we do. So I think the focus is, we're not right for everybody, but when it is a right fit, I think we can add a tremendous amount of value. So our focus on automation and information technology, again, driving costs out. Being in automotive, you have to be globally competitive, and I think our experience shows that we are.
We're very good at producing small precision parts in a very highly automated environment at a globally competitive price. And that probably in a nutshell is what we're able to do really well.
We located in Albion because we wanted to be within an hour or two for the just-in-time that they also focus in. So that was the beginning genesis of the idea. It really worked well because we had explosive growth. We're Inc. 500 company, 101, and we grew quickly. We actually even expanded down to North Carolina at one point to service one of our customers down there. And so we had explosive growth. Unfortunately, things changed. The automotive market obviously has gone through a lot of ups and downs and turmoils, in particular over the last decade. And so we've changed our business. One of the things that we've changed dramatically is the focus on automation. As we started, a lot of people at machines handling the parts, and over the last 10 years we've really seen that the way to go is move out of direct labor. The automation, the information technology pieces of it have come down in cost to make it advantageous for a molder like us to use, and so we've made a big push in that.
What we've found is that as we've highly automated, in order to be able to compete globally with lower wage countries, that the tooling becomes far more critical, and so we have to really have control of the tooling to make sure it's built to a reasonable specification and that it's not going to cause us problems.
Well, one of the things that I think about Team One that maybe differentiates us is, as a management team, we have a combined, it's over 76 years of experience here at Team One. And so what that means, I think, for the customer, what that benefit is that they're working with sort of a dedicated, experienced team working on their projects. So I think that's one way we live it. Team One's been able to retain team members for long periods of time.
I mean, everyone here knows our first goal is to support our customer. If we don't keep our customer happy, we don't stay in business long. So everyone here knows that we will do whatever it takes to keep our customers satisfied. It's in our quality philosophy from being the #1 team in customer satisfaction.
Well, with the automation, I think that what we try to do is to limit the amount of hands-on with employee labor, which is great because then it produces a more cost-effective process.
So this is one of our more sophisticated tests that we do in process. This is a 5-way connector for a fuel vapor recovery system. And it's real critical to make sure that all these ports are open and they're not blocked in any way. So, so we do a couple things as a quality check. Number one, we have a pressure transducer that indirectly measures the pressure of the plastic inside of the mold. And so we graph that and make sure that it's in specification. And so if any of these are out, like these 3 startup shots here, those would have been tossed out automatically by the robot. So that's one level of quality control. This very sophisticated end of arm tool is going to drive some precision pins into the critical ports on this part. And if it were to fail, it would drop it in the bin, but it passed. So now it's going to go ahead and put it on the conveyor, and we know that we have an acceptable part. And then it'll come here, it just drops off the runner, and then it's ready for the next shot. We also do a lot of small, like light guides and lenses. So this is, you can see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different lenses. We'll send these parts down to, we export them down to Mexico, which we do with probably about 15% of our sales end up down in Mexico. They will de-gate all these little lenses, and they become the little telltale lights on a dashboard. I think this goes on the Equinox ultimately. This is one of our captains doing a tool change. So what happens is we'll change these dies over about 5 times a shift, 10 times a day, because we run 2 shifts a day, and go from one job to another. So his job is to put the die in the press, set the robot up, change the job over in the computer, and then get it running and submit the parts to quality to make sure it started up correctly. So you can see this is where we store all the dies, and so like, you know, our press number 25, these are all the dies that would go on it. And what we tried to do was to store them, you know, not directly on the floor, so we have the plastic mats, but we wanted them to be underneath the bridge crane so that we can do the changes faster. You know, so we weren't transporting them back and forth from some other remote location. This is one of our biggest presses. And this is an all-electric machine, so there's no hydraulics to it at all, other than this core pull unit. They run a lot quieter also, is what you notice. You don't have a motor running in them, at least not a hydraulic motor. This is all our raw materials that we use. Well, not all of them. These are the ones that are going to be used during this shift. So some of it comes in boxes called Gaylords, some of it comes in bags. So you can see it's just like a lot of pellets. It'll come in different colors. Some of it's clear, some of it's black. So our job is to melt that and squirt it between the die halves and drop parts into a box with making as few mistakes as possible. So this is where we store the bulk of our raw materials. Just many, many, many different types. You know, we currently have 23 presses, and we run about 80 different types of material through them. A lot of these boxes up here are filled with scrap and runners, extra material that's produced in the process that we're not able to reuse in it, so we end up selling this at a discount to a place out in Battle Creek that does recycling for us. And so there's not a whole lot that we end up simply having to discard. So this is a case where we, these are knobs that go on a pickup truck, and they're the heater control knobs. So we mold this part, then we mold this small lens. We send this lens out to get a paint put on the top surface of it, so it has the correct look and amount of light transmittance. And then what she's doing here is putting the knob in a nest, setting the lens in, putting the springs up in the mandrels to make sure that that's all in place. There's lasers that will check. You can see that those are the lights that are coming on and off on the control panel. And then once they're all in there, the RAM will come down and press it all in. She'll do a quick visual check and then put it in the box. This is our maintenance area. We'll do, if repairs are required on the dies, we'll do the repairs here sometimes. Sometimes we'll send them out to local shops that'll do it for us. Also, we do our preventative maintenance here. So after a certain number of shots, we'll tear the die down, clean all the components, inspect it for damage, re-lubricate it, put it back together. We have the capability to do a lot of our own maintenance here and a lot of our own die modifications. You know, we have a wire EDM machine, a conventional EDM machine, CNC mill, regular mill, lathe, grinder, all the usual stuff. Probably the thing we're most proud of is we've now just surpassed 4,500 days without a lost time accident. We're getting ready to have a winter party and a celebration of achieving that. This is our quality control lab and metrology lab. So this is where every so often, usually every 2, 4, 6, or 12 hours, we'll pull samples off of those presses out there. And then we'll do certain types of inspection of them to make sure that nothing is changed and that the parts are meeting all of the customer specifications. And then when we've been asked to build one of the dies that we had taken a look at out there, after we do the first samplings, we need to measure every little feature on them and then compare it to the print and decide if we need to cut away more steel or weld something up and reburn it in order to get it to be the correct dimension. And so what we'll do in here is we'll do precision measurements, whether we use a digital video comparator, which is what Harry's using here, or sometimes we'll, so what that does is just takes a very highly magnified picture of the part, and then he'll align the crosshairs with certain features on the part and then measure it and be able to record what the result was. Or in some cases we'll use what's called a coordinate measuring machine, or a CMM, and basically it has a probe that you can move this in 3 dimensions and touch certain parts on this component, and it'll record where it touched, and then it just does calculations between those points to figure out what the dimension was. And then we have much simpler things: height gauges, gauge blocks, calipers, micrometers, all the usual stuff that you would see in a metrology lab.
It's in the name, Team One Plastics. I mean, there's no one above the team. Team One is team first. We're very team-oriented and family-oriented, but the Team One part is open office environment.
And the amazing thing to me is we now ship product to China, Japan, Portugal, Turkey, Canada. There's so many different countries now that we sell product to through our customers, because again, they have global operations that more and more we ship internationally.
One of the things we hear a lot is that we respond quickly, and of course by doing that allows our customer to save a lot of time and trying to retrack information down. If they ask us once, we're going to reply, and we're going to reply quickly.
And so really what we want to do is create an environment, and we call it freedom to succeed. Our customers can go anywhere to get our product. Our team members can go anywhere to work. Our suppliers can choose who they want to work with. And so we want to create an environment at Team One where they all see that it's in their benefit and that they have the best chance to succeed by working together with Team One to have the freedom to succeed.